The message came in at 7:14 a.m. while I was stirring cinnamon into my morning coffee. I didn't expect anything, just a quiet day and maybe a call from Mason. Instead, it was Clark. A text. "We're doing a smaller Christmas this year. Just the younger crowd. Please don't take it personally." I stopped stirring. My hand hovered midair, the spoon ticking gently against the edge of the mug. I read it once, then again, then again. No "Hi, Mom." No "Can we talk?" No explanation beyond that flat, sugary dismissal. Just a short, stiff push out the door. At first I blinked, thinking maybe there was more. Maybe the message cut off. Maybe there was a follow-up. There wasn't. I sat down on the edge of the couch, phone still in hand, legs trembling slightly. The tree in the corner blinked like it didn't know what had just happened. I'd trimmed it 2 nights ago, imagining Mason helping me hang the little wooden reindeer he loved when he was 5. I had just wrapped his gifts the night before, a book on planets, a soft green sweater, a card that said, "To my stargazer." I read the message a 4th time. Please don't take it personally. Of course I took it personally. They didn't just cancel a visit. They canceled me. Not angrily, not even directly. That would have been easier. No, this was worse. Polite exclusion, like I was an obligation they'd finally outgrown. I should have seen it coming. Last year, it was the store-bought pie I brought that wasn't part of the menu. The year before that, the folding chair they placed in the hallway, just until we make space. Now, they didn't even pretend to make space. I stared at the blinking lights. The angel on top leaned slightly, and I realized I was still holding the spoon. I set it down. Slowly, quietly. Because if I made any noise, I might shatter with it. And I still had one last ribbon to tie. I unfolded the sweater once more just to look at it. Deep green, soft wool. Loose enough at the arms so Mason could grow into it. I'd spent evenings with that yarn draped over my lap, imagining his face when he opened the box. I even stitched a tiny silver button at the collar. His favorite kind, the ones that clicked gently when he fidgeted with them. Now I folded it back and placed it in the box like something sacred that had nowhere to go. The silence in the house felt louder this year. Not just quiet, but hollow. Like it used to hold laughter and crumbs and complaints about too much nutmeg. Now it held only breath. My breath. Last year I'd baked gingerbread cookies from scratch. Mason had one, then handed the rest to Rena, who took a bite, smiled, and said, "These are a little too sweet for the kids." I remember nodding like I agreed. The year before that, I posted a photo of Clark holding Mason up to the tree. Rena messaged me the next morning. "Could you take that down? My family isn't comfortable with too much online presence." I deleted it. No argument. No second thought. Just another corner of myself quietly folded away. I remember offering to take Mason to the park last spring so they could rest. Clark said, "Let's not get him used to routines we can't maintain," as if time with me was a bad habit. And now this. No invitation, no space, no need. I stared at the tree. It looked too large for one person, too cheerful, like it hadn't gotten the message that I was no longer wanted, not even for a few hours, not even for one meal. I sealed the sweater box with a thin strip of tape and slid it to the back of the closet behind old wrapping paper and winter scarves. Then I sat down with a piece of toast I didn't want and stared at my phone not to check for messages, just to be sure none were coming. That night, I didn't turn on the TV. I just sat in the living room, the only light coming from the tree in the corner. It blinked on and off like it couldn't make up its mind, joy or silence. I used to love this time of year. The last few days before Christmas, the hush of snow outside, the smell of cinnamon or pine. But all I could feel now was the ache in my chest that settled like dust. I thought about Clark as a boy, his gap-toothed smile, his wild energy, how he used to ask for just one more story before bed. I remembered the time he got sick in third grade and only wanted me by his side. I remembered holding him close when he failed his driving test and telling him, "It's just a moment, not a measure." Then I thought about all the quiet no's that had crept in over the years. Let's not overwhelm him. Maybe not so many pictures, Mom. He's already got a lot of toys. He needs more structure. Each one sounded reasonable in the moment. Small, but now together, they formed a sentence I had never read clearly until today. You're not needed. I wasn't pushed away. I was politely put down, like a dish that no longer matched the table. I sat there a long time. At some point, I noticed the mug of coffee beside me had gone cold. I hadn't even taken a sip. And then something shifted. I didn't cry anymore. Not because it didn't hurt, but because the hurt had nowhere left to go. They had made their choice, without yelling, without cruelty, but with enough distance to be clear. So I made mine. The next morning, I opened my laptop and searched for holiday rentals. Somewhere quiet, beautiful, far enough to feel new. I found a villa tucked away in Oregon's wine country. Snow-covered roofs, fireplaces, and no one to answer to. I clicked book now, and for once, I didn't second-guess the price. The drive took longer than I expected, but I didn't mind. The farther I went, the more the tension in my chest loosened. By the time I turned off the main road and into the valley, I felt like someone I hadn't met in years. The villa was everything the listing promised. Tall windows, snow resting on the roof like icing a view of quiet hills and silent trees. No voices, no obligations, just stillness. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The space smelled like cedarwood and something sweet. There were no decorations yet, no noise, no signs of life except mine. I unpacked slowly, set the small box of ornaments on the counter, plugged in a string of lights, and draped it along the fireplace. I brought one garland from home green with gold ribbon and laid it gently along the stair rail. Then I brewed coffee and let the scent fill the space. No one asked for anything. No one rolled their eyes at my music choices. No one suggested I tone it down. This was mine. That evening, I roasted vegetables, baked salmon with lemon and herbs, and set the table for one. No placeholders, no folding chairs in hallways, just a cloth napkin, a real candle, and my favorite plate. I put on one of the old records I hadn't played in years. Nat King Cole. His voice poured through the villa like memory and comfort. I ate, slowly sipped a glass of wine, and didn't feel the need to fill the silence. When the meal was done, I lit the last candle and stood by the tall window watching the snow fall. It wasn't grand. It wasn't showy, but it was mine. For the first time in decades, I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I wasn't trying to make up for anything. I wasn't trying to earn a seat at anyone's table. I had made my own, and I still had dessert waiting on the counter. I hadn't meant for anyone to know. I hadn't posted a thing. But the local baker who delivered the cherry pie asked if she could take a quick photo by the fire. "This place is magical," she said, placing the box down on the counter. I smiled and nodded, not thinking twice. Later, someone else tagged the location. A few more photos popped up: candles, wine glasses, the glow of the fireplace, and me in that soft emerald wrap I'd brought just in case. Nothing posed, nothing curated, just real. That night, I went to bed with the window cracked open, listening to the quiet hum of wind brushing snow from the trees. When I woke up, my phone lit up with a wall of missed calls. 72. All from Clark. The first voicemail: "Mom, are you in Valley? Is that your villa?" The next: "Why didn't you tell us? Are you okay? Call me back." The rest blurred together, short, frantic, almost demanding. But none of them said what mattered. "No, I'm sorry. No, we were wrong. No, you deserved better." Just urgency, tension, confusion, not love, not concern, panic. Because now they saw what they'd never bothered to ask about. Now they knew I hadn't waited for them. Now they realized I hadn't begged for a seat. I sat at the edge of the bed, still in my robe, the morning light stretching long across the floor. I didn't listen to every message. I didn't need to. I knew what they were trying to do. Pull me back into their rhythm. Reclaim control. Reframe the story. I poured my coffee and let the notifications keep buzzing. Then I flipped the phone face down on the counter. They weren't calling out of love. They were calling because they saw something they hadn't expected me. Whole. Happy. Without them. And for once, I didn't feel guilty about it. He messaged again a week later. This time, not a call. A simple text. Can we meet? I didn't ask why. I already knew. I chose the cafe. Neutral. Quiet. One of those tucked-away spots with chipped mugs and no Wi-Fi. I arrived 20 minutes early, ordered coffee, and sat by the window. I didn't check my phone. I didn't fidget. I just watched the snow drip from the awning outside. Clark walked in late, shoulders tight, cheeks flushed from cold. Or nerves, maybe both. He barely made eye contact as he sat down. I didn't mean for things to get so distant, he started. It's just been a rough year. Rena's parents aren't in a position to help anymore. And, the mortgage, we might be in trouble. The bank gave us a deadline. I stirred my coffee slowly. Let him speak. We thought we had more time, he added. I guess we didn't realize how fast it would all fall apart. He looked up then, expecting something softness rescue, maybe even guilt. Instead, I pulled an envelope from my purse and slid it across the table. He opened it, expecting a check. His face didn't hide the surprise when he saw what it actually was, a list of financial advisors. Contact at the credit union, budget planner, resources. He blinked. So, nothing. I took a sip of my coffee before answering. Plenty, I said. Just not the kind that keeps you from growing up. He leaned back, as if the words hit something he wasn't ready to feel. You've changed, he muttered. No, I replied, setting my cup down. I just stopped pretending this dynamic was love. He folded the envelope and didn't meet my eyes again. When he stood, he didn't say goodbye. Just walked out the bell above the door, giving a sharp little chime as it closed behind him. I didn't watch him go. I simply reached for the last sip of coffee and took it slowly. He came back the next day. No appointment, no warning. Just walked into the cafe while I was halfway through my coffee coat. Still buttoned eyes hard. You're punishing us, he said, before he even sat down. All those pictures online. Do you know what people are saying? That we abandoned you. That we're heartless. I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. I simply looked at him. You told me not to come, I said. I didn't. That's not punishment. That's participation. You could have called. You could have explained. I did, I replied calmly. Through silence. He shook his head, voice rising. You turned the internet against us. Everyone thinks we're awful. I set my cup down. No, I said. I didn't turn anyone against you. You made a choice. I just made mine visible. He leaned back, arms crossed. You've changed. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. No. I just stopped mistaking usefulness for love. His jaw tensed. We needed help. I know, I said, but I needed respect. One of us finally got what we asked for. He stared at me like I was someone he didn't recognize. Maybe I was. Maybe I'd been invisible so long the moment I stepped into view, I felt like a threat. He stood. You're being cold. No, I replied. I'm being clear. And just like that, he stormed out. No goodbye. No thanks. Just a door swinging hard behind him. I didn't chase him. I didn't feel the urge to explain myself. Not this time. I turned my attention back to the table, to the warmth of the mug between my palms. For years, I thought if I gave enough time, money, forgiveness, they'd remember to love me. But today, I gave something else. A mirror. And Clark didn't like what he saw. I finished my coffee. The seat across from me was empty again, but for once, it didn't feel like a loss. It felt like space. The envelope was thick, off-white, and slightly wrinkled. My name was written in Clark's handwriting, too neat, too intentional, like he'd taken time to make it look careful. I didn't open it right away. I placed it on the kitchen counter and let it sit there through lunch, through sunset, through 2 cups of coffee. I knew what would be inside. When I finally slid it open, it unfolded exactly as I expected. He blamed Rena. He blamed the stress. He blamed miscommunication and timing. He mentioned the kids twice, but he never once blamed himself. No apology, no ownership. Just noise wrapped in nice paper like a gift you didn't ask for. I think things got out of hand. Rena was trying to make space for her parents. The internet makes everything worse. We still love you, Mom. Still. That word sat like a weight in my chest. Still, as if love had ever been proven, as if it hadn't been conditional all along. I stopped reading halfway through the second page, folded it back into thirds, slipped it into a drawer next to unused coupons and a few old keys that didn't open anything anymore. Then I put on my coat and went outside. The air was sharp, clean. The kind of winter air that bit at your skin but cleared your head. I walked without a path, just down the road past pine trees and fences dusted with snow, until my mind slowed enough to breathe again. I didn't owe him a reply. Not for a letter that danced around truth, that treated pain like an accident rather than a choice. He still didn't get it. Maybe he never would. But for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for him to. My boots crunched softly on the path. My breath rose in small clouds, and I kept walking, hands in my pockets. Heart in my chest, finally beating for me. The message came on a quiet Tuesday. Hi, Grandma. I miss you. Can I visit this summer? No emojis. No explanations. Just 12 simple words that cracked something open in me. I read it 3 times just to make sure I hadn't imagined it. Then I replied, "Of course, sweetheart. Always." Mason arrived in July wearing a backpack nearly his size and that same unsure smile I remembered from when he was little. Clark didn't call. Rena didn't message. No one followed up. He came alone, and I welcomed him without a single question. We didn't talk about the tension, not at first. We just moved through the house together gently. He helped in the kitchen. He asked if he could pick the music. We made peach cobbler and grilled vegetables, and he set the table like it mattered. Later that evening, he found an old photo album on the shelf, one I'd stopped bringing out years ago. "Can we look?" he asked. So we did. He pointed at a picture of Clark as a boy, all crooked teeth and scraped knees. "He looks happy," he said softly. "He was," I answered. He didn't press. He just listened as I told him stories, some funny, some tender. All of them true. Not shaded by hurt or resentment, just told plainly the way memories should be. At night, he curled up by the fireplace with a book while I knitted in the chair beside him. No phone, no performance. Just peace. On his last morning, as I zipped his suitcase closed, Mason hugged me tightly. Then, almost too softly to hear, he whispered, "Thank you for not making me pick a side." Tears rose, but I didn't let them fall. I just kissed his forehead and said, "You never have to." The next December, I decorated the villa again. Same soft lights, same fresh garland. But this time, everything felt lighter. Not because I added anything, but because I finally stopped carrying what wasn't mine. I invited friends who had shown up when nothing was expected of them. A woman from the bookshop who remembered my name. An old neighbor who never minded my stories. And yes, a small wrapped gift with Mason's name under the tree just in case. I didn't check my phone that morning. I didn't need to. There were no calls from Clark. No apology. No updates. No effort. But strangely, no ache either. We played music, made cocoa, shared stories that tumbled over each other in laughter. Someone brought homemade shortbread. Another guest taught us a game from their childhood. It was imperfect and warm and real, and I felt full. Not the kind of full that comes from obligation or performance, the kind that settles deep in your bones and tells you you belong here. Later, as the guests trickled out and silence returned to the room, I poured myself a final cup of coffee and stood by the window. Snow was falling again, soft, unhurried, like the year had taken a deep breath. I took a sip, closed my eyes, and for the first time I didn't feel like I'd lost something. I felt like I'd come home to myself. I wasn't uninvited, I said softly into the quiet. I was set free.